everyone, welcome to another episode of Table Talk. I'm your host, Jake Combs, and tonight we are taking a look at the Deadly Depths Rivals deck for Warhammer Underground's Nethermaze. Now, according to the package, as you can see, we've yet to open this. According to the package, though, it is an expansion, ready-to-play deck. It has 12 objective cards, 10 gambit cards, 10 upgrade cards, and all of them are universal, so they can be used or be included in any decks. So if you have cards from any warband whatsoever, you can add any of these cards to that deck and then use that to kind of fill things out. So let's go ahead and open it up and take a look. I know that for, I want to say it was Beastgrave, they did the same thing, and there were some cool cards that came in there. Let's go take a look. Now, one thing I really do like is I like this card holder. I know that the other Rivals deck had one of these as well. Now, it is made out of paper, so it is going to take some wear and tear. And so in the long run, it's not going to be that great for holding your deck. But it definitely looks pretty cool. Now, get that open. And I do apologize. I am kind of losing my voice. Over the last couple weeks, the whole family had COVID, and I'm basically the last to fully recover. And with it, I ended up getting bronchitis, and with bronchitis, I ended up losing my voice for the most part today. So we're going to go ahead and make the most of it because we have plenty of awesome stuff to share with you guys. Now, we're just going to go through a few of the cards, and again, these are all universal, so they can be used with any warband whatsoever, regardless of what faction they're on, and obviously regardless of whose pictures are on the card. Like the one I just showed you, that is the new Hexbane. I can't remember. I believe it's Hexbane's Hunters, if I remember correctly. That's on there. And then here we have the Shadeborn from the actual Nethermaze box. Excuse me. Alright, so we're just going to pick a ploy at random. More on how awesome the picture is more than anything else. And you guys should know by now that I am a huge Chaos fan, so the fact that we have a massive Chaos Warrior causing some mayhem on this card definitely drew my attention to it. So this Gambit ploy is called Knives in the Dark. Do +1 damage to the first attack action in the next activation step that targets an enemy fighter on a feature token. So basically, that one's quite simple to figure out exactly what it means, and it's just simple that you're adding 1 extra damage to the next attack that's being done. Now, what it doesn't say is it doesn't say successful attack action. So that tells me that if we're going by the letter of the law, or exactly how it's written, even if you failed the attack, it would be +1 damage. Now, in the spirit of the game, I would definitely could see arguing against that, just because of the fact that if you don't actually hit your opponent, you can't actually wound your opponent. And so I'm pretty sure that that's how it's intended. But if you're reading it verbatim, it doesn't say that you have to have a successful attack action. It's just adding 1 damage to the enemy fighter. Let's see, we're going to pick another ploy. This one is We Must Go Deeper. Again, chosen completely at random. So choose up to 2 friendly fighters, push the chosen fighters 1 hex. After that push, each chosen fighter must be in a cover hex or in an enemy territory. So basically, you would use this card when you have your units and you want to kind of push them a little bit further, get them, that one last step to be exactly where you want them to be, either on the enemy's territory or in cover to better protect those units. So again, these are some great cards to be adding. I love the versatility in these Rivals decks. Just the fact that you can mix and match your decks in this game gives a whole new dynamic that I think that most players of Age of Sigmar or even 40k don't really get to experience, So like, players of Magic the Gathering and things like that, definitely understand the importance of deck building. And, so if you're going against somebody that, has only ever played Age of Sigmar or only ever played 40k, and you've played, deck building games, you're probably going to have an advantage there by better analyzing some of the cards. All right, so now we're going to look at a couple of the upgrades. The first one is Cursed Boarding Axe. So the bounty gained when an enemy fighter is taken out of action by this attack action is spent glory unless this fighter is on a feature token. And so that's specifically an action attack, and I do definitely like that picture. I mean, it looks like a Soul Blight Gravelords. I can't remember the warband's name. That's all vampires. It looks like one of those guys to me, anyway. And this image is of one of my absolute favorite warbands as far as the aesthetic goes. But I'm drawing a blank on the name with them as well. So this one's Gallows Humor. The picture obviously being the pirate. And so the reaction after an activation step in which one or more fighters were taken out of action, push this fighter 1 hex. And has a quote for Gorlock Black Powder. And it says, "Now that was funny." And the picture is basically him smacking somebody. So it's another one where you can actually, get your units to where you want them to be. Now, what it doesn't say is it has to be your unit. So you could, again, this is my interpretation of how I'm reading this, but the way I'm reading it is you could use this to push one of your opponent's fighters or one of your own fighters to the neighboring hex that you want them to be on. So you could potentially use this to then cause additional wounds by pushing one of them into a trap or something like that. Let's see. Now this card I find very interesting based on the picture, simply because it does not resemble any warbands that I recall anyway. It kind of looks like almost like a British nobleman, like you'd see with the kind of the powdered wigs, but this one being a blonde wig. And so I'm really not sure who he's supposed to be, or if this is just something drawn just to kind of give some character, or this is hinting at a warband to come that hasn't been announced yet. Honestly, don't know. I do know that the next warband after Hexbanes is going to be a Khorne themed warband that kind of looks, at least the one model we've seen, resembles the Scions of the Flame for Warcry. But I digress. So this one being Mask of Shadows, it's an illusion. Do not spend any glory points when you play this card. At the end of the action phase, or when this fighter is chosen by a gambit or is dealt damage, break this card. This fighter cannot be the target of an attack action unless the attacker is adjacent. So that basically means that any units that have a longer reach, they're not going to be able to hit this fighter at all unless they move to the neighboring hex. So I could definitely see that, turning things to your advantage, especially if you play this on, like, say, your leader. Then that, and if the warband you're facing has more longer reach units, you're definitely going to be kind of screwing up a lot of your opponent's strategies doing something like that. Alright, so the rest are objective cards. I'm just going to look at two of them real quick. The first one that we're looking at is Blood in the Deeps. And so in this image we got Hexbane, and it looks like a couple of dead bodies. I would say that one of them is probably a Flesh Eater count, or these are some of the zombies from the one of the other recent warbands. I can't remember the name of it, but it's the one that the necromancers kind of use mad science, and you've got like zombies sewn together from different parts and things like that. So Blood in the Deeps is a dual score this in an end phase if during the previous activation step one or more enemy fighters were taken out of action and one or more friendly fighters are within one hex of a feature token. And so this would give you 1 glory point. So it doesn't sound like it's going to be very difficult to earn this one. More or less, you just got to make sure that you're near a feature token and then kill or take an enemy fighter out of commission. Alright, we're going to go with this one because I love the Centaur units with the warband. I can't remember the name of them. They came with Beastgrave in the original box. Had a very old school Wood Elves aesthetic, and so I love the fact that we're seeing them featured in art still, and I hope that we see some other war bands that kind of fit along those lines coming out eventually. But this one is Desperate Triumph. It's for 2 glory points. It's a surge duel. Score this immediately after an activation step if your leader is on a feature token in enemy territory and your leader is vulnerable. So again, reading this one, it seems like another really easy objective to get some quick glory points, but obviously, with something like this that's a duel, the conditions have to be exactly right. So your leader has to be the one next to the feature token, where the other one, it could have been any of your units next to a feature token for that to count. So it's all about reading your objectives and planning ahead, so that way you meet those conditions a lot easier. Because if you analyze those conditions ahead of time, you're going to find that they're not terribly difficult to achieve for the most part. But obviously the ones that are worth more points are going to be a little more difficult to do. So definitely with the cards we just looked at tonight, as well as some of the cards I've seen glimpses of before, highly recommend this if you are an Underworlds player, just because of all of the options it gives you. And I mean, there are some great cards that we went through and some others that I saw as well. So definitely highly recommend picking this up. I do want to say thank you to Games Workshop for providing this for our video today. As of the date that this video goes live, this is available for pre-order, but at the time of filming, it is not yet. So this was sent to us in advance for the purpose of this video by Games Workshop. So again, thank you guys for all of your support. Other than that, thank you all for watching. I do really appreciate your continued support through the years on the channel. But you know, if you do enjoy the show, please subscribe. I know that some of our fans have been asking for us to get the URL updated, and we can't do that without your help. It actually requires 1,000 subscribers, and so far we are nowhere near that. So if you guys can start helping us out with that and start subscribing, that means we'll be able to start doing some of those changes that you guys are requesting. And again, thank you all for watching, and we really do appreciate that support. Recently, we did have a Nethermaze review go online on the Nerd Cult website, so nerdcultonline.com. Go ahead and head there, go to the tabletop section, and you'll be able to find that the Nethermaze review. It even has a little bit of details about the 3 newest warbands that have already been released, as well as the ones that are coming soon. So something to check out. But again, thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great night.